Hello and welcome to the final podcast of the season on Formula 1 FanCast. Plenty to get our teeth into and loads to cram into this podcast. Mark Webber took his first win of the season at the Brazilian Grand Prix to end 2011 on a high. Teammate Sebastian Vettel finished second despite constant gearbox issues, with McLaren's Jenson coming home in third. So we'll be reflecting on the season finale in Brazil. We'll be giving our assessments on all the teams in 2011, and we'll also have the results of our Formula 1 FanCast end of season awards as voted by you, so plenty to get our teeth into, all that to look forward to. And here with me is Paul Hadsley. How are you?
You got me back, have you?
Yeah.
Early in the season.
Yeah, it's been a while. Can't remember the last podcast I did with you.
I think it was around,
I think it was around Canada, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, Canada was good. Canada was a good one. We'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, firstly, we are going to touch briefly on the Brazilian Grand Prix before we do go on to give our assessments on all the teams. Paul, about time Mark Webber got a win on the board.
Yes, you could say too little, too late, because he's in considering what car he was in. But he says he has issues with Pirelli tyres, and he's finally got on board with them. And let's face it, he only won because Vettel had the problem. But it's going to be a good fillet for him over the off-season, and they say the person who wins the last race in the off-season galvanises and comes back stronger in the new year. It didn't quite work for Montoya back in 2004, but he fell off a quad bike or something. But apart from that, yeah, he was too confident, got on the quad bike, fell off. But that's then, and this is now. So yeah, I'm sure he'll make him stronger, and he'll be having. He had a party on the way back on the plane as always, and he'll have a few parties and get that out of his system and come back stronger hopefully in 2012.
But you know what I say, better late than never.
Yes, I mean I think I've been picked up on your YouTube comments. Hi, people underneath us, so we do love your comments. Always positive, always great. But no, I was picked up on being too harsh on Webber. But as far as I can see, I know Red Bull see Sebastian as the new prodigy, but I don't think they're a team that sabotaged in the way Ferrari would their second driver. And you know, I'm sure they've got equal cars and they've got equal equipment and priorities and that, and pit stops and etc. Whatever you can think of. But so why does it take Webber that long to become competitive? He says it's because he didn't get on with Pirelli, the new tyre manufacturer in 2011. But you know, he's been given the best car. He shouldn't be fighting with. He should just be fighting with Sebastian. It should have been a two-horse race. It should have been like McLaren 1988. Yeah, that last year, but it ended up being a walkover.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think from the neutral, obviously, we would like to have seen Webber much closer to Vettel. But we'll come on to talk about Webber later on in the podcast. Talking of Vettel, did a great job, didn't he, to finish second, considering he had gearbox problems. And
he liked to compare with Senna. They didn't quite have all the bruises on his hand that Senna had when he won the Grand Prix. Was it just 6 gear he had? Yeah.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, and then you see in the great movie, which has just been out, not plugging, but you see in the film that Don't Touch Me, I've really hurt myself. He's really badly in pain, and Vettel just had to go a bit slower and finish second instead of first. It's not really, it was good. He drove around a problem. He's adaptable. He's the best driver on the grid. We get it, but he's not quite Senna level yet.
Or Jenson was able to finish the race third, which meant he finished second in the driver's standings. Good effort from Button in the race, and third, I guess, was the best result he could have hoped for.
Yeah, I mean, he got passed quite early on, didn't he, by Alonso?
Right.
So I think he was annoyed by that to charge and make sure he finished ahead of him. So it was a late race charge, and last pit stop, last sort of stint, he got by. Not quite as good a manoeuvre he did back on Alonso after Alonso passed him, but still, it works, and it shows that overtaking is not just limited to the pit stops, and once the final pit stops happen, as we're used to in the refuelling era, and that once the final pit stops are over, there still might be overtaking on the way. So let's keep watching. This is still something I'm not quite used to in Formula 1 this year. But yeah, it was a good charge from Button. Sadly, he couldn't get higher than third, but the best he could do, so good for him.
And you just mentioned Alonso. Talking of Ferrari, Alonso and Felipe Massa came in 4th and 5th. Your thoughts on the Brazilian weekend for Ferrari?
Well,
wasn't strong, was
it? They've underperformed all year. They've won one race. They should have won more. Alonso's started when he could, taking the lead over the start before the tyres fade, etc. It's sort of the reverse in the Michelin era with Montoya, and that sort of Alonso would get a good start and then gradually be overhauled, and Vettel would win or something like that. But it was a great overtake, probably one of the overtakes of the year. We'll probably maybe deal with that later. But yeah, I mean, it's a move that I thought was really good when Jenson himself did it in 2009 when he won the title there around the corner of turn 4, I think it is in the end, which isn't usually an overtaking space, but that was a brilliant manoeuvre, and Jenson could tell was rattled by it, and like, that's it, I'm still going to beat you, I'm going to get you back, and he did. But Alonso was he's still got fighting spirit, and if he gets a good car next year, he'll still be as good as he was. But you could tell he's a bit perturbed by the fourth being the best he can do.
And along with Ferrari and Red Bull, both Force India drivers, Adrian Sutil and Paul di Resta, finishing points. So another good weekend for Force India.
Yeah, but they are sort of the team, I can't really put it, the sort of non-manufacturer team, even though they got Mercedes engines, but sort of the plucky underdog team that everyone likes to support. But both drivers doing a good job this year. Di Resta has done well. Okay, he's been sponsored, I think, somehow by Martin Brundle talking him up all year. That's done well. But so they are the team that seem to overperform due to their budget. 2009 they were like fighting for victories. Last year they were there, getting in the mix, and this year is the same. Hopefully they can just make a little bit of step and properly fight. I mean, they're probably, I can't remember the championship positions exactly, but they're probably close to Mercedes and about probably a lot less budget. So they've done a good job.
Okay, just final point now on the Grand Prix in Brazil. Sauber's Kamui Kobayashi finished 9th to score 2 crucial points, and those points saw Sauber finish 7th ahead of Toro Rosso in the constructors. So decent drive from Kobayashi, and not a bad Grand Prix 2011.
Exactly. You always want to finish on a high, as we said. So hopefully Kobayashi has shown his mettle. If you don't know about Kobayashi over the last 2 years, you know what sort of driver he is, and he's become a fan favourite because he's the one that dares to overtake. He wouldn't. That Japanese Grand Prix when he was just launching it up from so far back and still managing to pull off moves, and even before that, I remember he was the only one overtaking in a double Valencia Grand Prix in 2010. So I think he's great. He's fearless. He fulfills all the stereotypes from the Japanese driver, surprisingly, without the crashing actually, because that used to be the stereotype of Japanese driver, didn't it? But I think he's good, and he should hopefully stick around in 2012, and hopefully be more overtakes to see.
Okay, well now going to give our reflections on how all the teams fared in 2011 and look ahead to 2012 as well. We'll also be giving our marked out of 10 for each team. So we're going to start at the back of the grid. Start with Marussia Virgin. Paul, another difficult year for Virgin, disappointing one.
You've got to look optimistic about the new teams. They're still around. When they first came to the sport, and even for the first couple of races in 2010, everyone thought, they won't be around at the end of this season, 2011. But they're still here, and again, surprisingly, Virgin finished last when you think they have more money and HRT would finish last. But I mean, they're still here. That's what I care about most. And Formula 1 is a closed shop. In the olden days, there was only 20 seats. So at least instead of like all these drivers being test drivers, some drivers, it's at the back of the grid and they're only racing each other, but they're getting good experience, and then they can move up. I think it will happen. I think drivers can be placed there instead of like just becoming a test driver and losing their racing nous, if that's a word. Is it? But they can be placed at Virgin, they can be placed at HRT and actually get race experience. What's it like when the safety car comes out? That sort of thing. So I'm glad they're there. They fulfil a role. It's just I hope they progress a bit more over the off season, because they're a little bit off the pace at the moment. But hopefully they can just get there and start fighting with the back of the grids. And sadly that includes Williams. So start fighting with the Williams and the other back of the grid teams, Toro Rosso, etc.
Well, you always need time to improve.
Oh yeah, it's a solid foundation. I mean, that's what they're doing over these 2 years, building the foundation. They don't have all the data that the top teams do. They're just finding out how to go racing, and all they're doing is keeping the doors open, building a foundation. Hopefully they can progress in the next few years. But they're doing a good job for what they're doing. It's just hopefully now they can close the gap.
But I'm sure they would like to have been closer, though.
Yes, I mean, Formula 1 is only ever seen in performance terms. You only ever see it in kind of how fast they are compared to the winning car, 107% on Saturdays. They're only going to see in performance, but look in other areas, and they've got a solid base, and yes, there's been takeovers, but they're trying to learn about this Formula 1 game that everyone else is so experienced at, and hopefully they'll eventually, once they've got some experience under the belts, they will close that gap.
And we now know that Charles Pic will be replacing Jerome D'Ambrosio next year. I actually do find it harsh on Jerome, because I actually thought he did a decent job for Virgin. Considering obviously the car's not great.
No.
all you can ask for from Jerome was to finish races. He did that, and yet he goes and gets sacked.
Yeah, that's right. But we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You know, the team may have a better read on him because it's hard from our point of view in the media. They don't get on TV unless they crash. Really, Virgin can have a really good race, and they could get up to the best they can do on a start is maybe 13th, 14th. That doesn't get shown at the start. There's no onboard footage showing a Virgin. But if the best they can do is sort of get 15th, because there's no reliability, there's no unreliability anymore. So they're not going to look into a points finish like the old days, like Jordan or Minardi used to in that 2002 Mark Webber famous race, because everyone else crashed out. That doesn't happen. They don't get on TV. So it's hard for a driver like that to show his performance. He might have done a really good job, but he only really can compare him against his teammate, and that's what the team have done. And obviously he's not come up. Or maybe there's money involved again. It's just a cynical world in Formula 1, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And just a quick word on Timo. His year, how do you assess that?
Timo Glock, I say it's hard to. They don't get on TV, but it's hard to. I'd say Glock's done a good job. He's reliable. He's experienced. There's more to being a team like being a driver for a team like Virgin than just race performances. It's also how you develop the car between races and test, and with limited testing. He's got to use his wealth of experience now, and hopefully test over the off season and help them. But yeah, I mean, as I say, it's more than just racing performance. You need to sort of build the team around you and drag them up with you, if you know what I mean. Or at least build a foundation and build building blocks rather than drag them up. But yeah, I think Timo's doing a solid job. Not spectacular, but he deserves his seat.
Okay, marks out of 10 now. One being the worst,
yes.
10 being the best.
I get how that works, yes.
Yeah. Marks out of 10 for Virgin,
right.
Timo Glock and D'Ambrosio.
I'll give them a solid 6 out of 10. Why not? Because not spectacular. They're not made many headlines, but they're still around. They're building for the future. And okay, this time in a couple of years, if they're still in the same place, finishing last, then we'll have words. But at the moment, we'll see how it goes. Could do better, but you're doing quite well. So tick and continue. And we'll see you in 2012, and let's see what you do then. Okay,
moving on now. HRT, another difficult year for them, but Paul, in the second half of the season, they were beating Virgin on occasions. How do you think HRT will reflect on 2011?
The same thing happened last year, wasn't it? They sort of nicked into the non-last place, whatever that is, in the last couple of races. But it proves that they are, as I say, it's hard to get attention at the back of the grid. But they are just quietly getting on with what they're doing. They're happy to be in Formula 1. Formula 1 seems happy to have them as long as they don't, block the leaders or whatever people moan about in qualifying. And so yeah, it's again hard to assess a back of the grid team because they don't get as much written about them. There's not on TV as much. But I'd hope that they've done a good job. Yeah, they didn't finish last, which is I'm sure the big the worry that they all do. And each championship position brings with it more money. So they'll be happy not to finish last. Again, I am sympathetic to the new teams. They are there, I'm glad they're there, and HRT are doing a good job just to be around. It's harder than you think even to be at the back of the grid, all the money it takes just to be in Formula 1, so good for them.
But no doubt, Petrov de la Rosa, he'll bring lots of experience to HRT next year. It's
his third comeback. I thought Mansell had a few comebacks, but that's right. And it doesn't help Spanish team, Spanish driver really, and they are moving the operation to Spain, if I remember. But I'm sure that's what you need in a back of grid team. Young charger to sort of give you the speed and it's a cliche, I think, a Formula 1 cliche, but the speed and experience combined in an older driver. Maybe should have got Rubens, but
still available.
Yeah, he might still be. Yeah, but no, he's got a wealth of experience, more than anyone ever, I think. But so that's what you need, Pedro de la Rosa, to give you all the experience he's learned from McLaren over the years, being their test mule, and so hopefully that will be a good off-season for them, learning what he knows and putting it to use in their 2012 car.
And your thoughts on Kartika, Antonio Liuzzi and Ricciardo? How do you think they did this year?
Wow. I mean, it's especially when you haven't got driver stability. Karthikeyan was given a few goes because of the Indian Grand Prix and then didn't, and it was confusing. But yeah, it's hard enough when you're in the back of the grid team, especially when you're not, you're sharing the drive and all that. But as I say, no one made any stupid errors. There was very little of the you can't knock them. There's very little getting in the way of the leaders and all that. They're all polite, so they know what they've got to do. They've got to develop the car, race sensibly, and also when the leaders come by, that's sort of skill that even Vettel doesn't have, to get out of the way. I'm sure Vettel, I don't know how Vettel would do if he's ever lapped trying to work out what he would do, but if he ever has been either, probably when he was in Toro Rosso. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, I think they've done a solid job. I'd say it's nothing spectacular. I think it's going to be the same for all the lower teams, but no one's caught my attention. I haven't thought, Kafa Kane's doing a good job or anything like that because of the lack of attention they get. But they've not got in the way and they've not caused crashes as the leader, so I'll give them credit for that at least.
Marks out of 10 for HRT?
Marks out of 10, I'd say the same. I can't see any. I know. Okay, so we'll give them a 6.5 because they finished ahead of Virgin. Oh, I swear, I know. I've got to give someone lower than that now. I started in the middle, and everyone's going to get higher. But I'm going to think of someone. Who am I going to hate? Yeah, but yeah, 6.5 I think is about right. They finished ahead of Virgin. It was really look, based on finishes, and none of them scored points, so it was a bit of a lottery.
Okay, well, for the second year running, Team Lotus finished 10th in the Constructors despite not scoring any points. They'll be known as Caterham F1 from next year, and they didn't score any points for in 2011, but they certainly did get in amongst the midfield, didn't they?
Yes, as they are the team people tip to move forwards, and they are my favourite of the new teams because I like the livery. I did like the. I was on their side in the Lotus fight, even though they gave up on it by the look of it. Caterham's a good brand too. Caterham's I look forward to supporting them, because if you ever watch Caterham Racing on various digital channels, I think it's really, really good. So Caterham's a nice little sports car I'd love to own one day. They look like a roller skate, but they go like the clappers, and I think they'll do well next year. So yeah, Caterham's a good brand. So move from one to the other. They keep the same colour scheme as far as I'm aware, and more importantly, their performance is easily the best of the new teams. Kovalainen is a good driver. I think he's very underrated, Heikki.
He did a good job though, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll be the one to lead them forwards. Jarno, not so much. I don't know about Jarno. He just always has issues, all power steering. He's a bit of a moaner. I'm not too against him. Once he's on song, we've seen him win races. We've seen him win one race, should I say. There's no plural in that. But he was harshly treated by the Briatore machine agenda, and I did have sympathy with him because, again, he was like the Webber of that time, because Alonso was clearly the favoured son and truly was just there. He's gone through his Toyota years, he's got the experience, and now he's hopefully the experience of giving them to Lotus, like I said before. But I think if anyone's going to score points in this team, it's going to be Heikki. Jarno is just too conservative, I think. Yes, he's good over one lap, and it's the old. I'm sure it's a cliche he hates. Yes, I'm better over the race than one lap and all that. I don't want to fall into Formula 1 traditions, but I think if anyone's going to score a point in Lotus next year, assuming they're keeping the same drivers, then it's going to be Heikki rather than Jarno.
Well, 2011 was, it's fair to say.
So I'm going back. Did I call him a whiner? Because he makes wine, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He's a wine-making whiner. That's clever.
But yeah, surely we'll come back onto him. 2011, another struggling year.
Yeah.
Is it time for him to hang up his race boots?
That's the thing. As soon as anyone gets about 30, how old is he? 32?
I think
34?
36.
36. Okay, anyone gets like their mid to late 30s, people think retire. And I'm not Webber's biggest fan, but I don't think he should retire because he's not. He could go down the grid and do what Coulthard did and just help benefit your experience to a team that needs it. And maybe that's what Lotus needs. He'll probably be there unless a big team comes on and says, look, we've got a young talent, we want to give some race experience, we'll give you some money to run this guy. So unless that happens, probably Lotus are happy to have him in as experience. As I say, I think Heikki's the quicker of the two, but I know probably is better at testing. I don't know, but there's obviously a reason why that relationship works, and hopefully it'll keep working over in 2012.
Okay, marks out of 10 for Team Lotus.
I'm going higher. I'd say they are the ones that look most promising, but I think in 2012 they will make not a significant step forward, but they will be challenging the Toro Rossos of the world. So that's just my little prediction. So I'm going to give them an 8. Would you believe? Yes, I'm sympathetic to them. I don't know why. An 8. Yes, I know it's a bit extreme, but I think of all the teams, the newer teams, they will be the ones to perform next year. So yeah, 8 for Lotus / Caterham.